Nesiva Shalom, Shiur number 2 on Chanukah, Gilui Pach Echad Shel Shemen. The revelation of the Pach Echad, that one little jug of oil. My Chanukah, the Tanur Rabbanim B'Chafei Kislev Yoyim in the Chanukah, K'shenechnasu Yevanim Lahechel Tumu Kol Hashmanim Shebehechel. We all know the story that the Kaihanim came and they were looking for some oil in order to reignite the Chanukah menorah, and they couldn't find anything. Then finally they scrounged around and they found one little pach echad, one little jug of oil. That was pure. It had the seal of the Kohen Gadol, and really it could only light for one night. And the nace was, they lit it up and it lasted 8 days. We all know this Gemara in Shabbos, Chaf Aleph Amud Beis. So we see from over here that the main mahus, the main essence of Chanukah, is not the fact that we weren't murdered, is not the fact Rabban biad ma'atim t'meim atoyim shom biad tzadikim. Things were terrible for Klal Yisrael in so many ways. But what is Chanukah? The Gemara says Chanukah was, they didn't have oil, and they found oil, and they found one little jug of light, one little jug of oil, and it lasted for 8 days. That's the mahus of the Yom Tov. That is the essence, which is very, very hard to understand. It's only a side note. The fact of the miracle was that we weren't killed, and that a few Jews went out and they fought legions and legions of the enemy. The fact that we got back to Beis HaMikdash, the fact that we found the menorah. Yes, we would have had to wait, maybe not lit the menorah for a couple of weeks until we found made new oil, or Tumah Hutra B'tzibur, we really could have used Tameh oil. And the fact that we found in one little, just imagine that a base medrash has a fire, Rachmana litzlan, and gets burned down to the ground, and then there were people trapped. And people were trapped in the basement, people were trapped in the mikveh, they couldn't get them out, people were on the roof, they were jumping off, and big miracle happened. Nobody was killed, nobody was hurt, nobody was damaged. Everybody who jumped off the roof landed on mattresses. The firemen came out, they pulled people, they were stuck in the mikveh, they went into mikveh not to get burned, the ceiling fell down on them, miracles, everybody was saved. And then they went inside with the flashlights. They went inside with the flashlights into the dark, broken Beis Medrash, and everything was burned and messed up. And found on the floor a little jug of oil to put by the amud, and that it should light. That's the big simcha? And that not only was supposed to last for an hour, right? It lasted until the next day, until 10 days later, when they cleaned the rubble and they had new oil. What is really going on over here that we're celebrating this piece of the nace, which is seemingly the least important, certainly the least, if we were killed, that would have been a lot worse. One Jew getting killed would have been a lot worse. Least important. Kach gam eschalta the nes gili pach shemen yesh lo mashmois nitzchias v'yesh levar inyana al derech ha'avoda. Everything that happened in Chanukah is not about something that happened years ago, as we've said in the past. The miracles that Chazal decided for us to celebrate every year is because there's a ha'ara, there's a light, a shine, a reflection of that miracle that comes up every single year on these days. And therefore, we need to understand what this is. And as we're going to understand what this miracle of Chanukah was, of the Gilui, the revelation of the Pach Shemen, we are going to understand what Chanukah is meant to rejuvenate inside each and every one of us, and to ignite into every single one of us. And if we really focus on this over Chanukah, by the time Chanukah is over, we will have something to carry with us for the next few months, which is the purpose of the religion, of the commemoration of Chanukah, that we should leave with something. Not what to go in with, but what we leave Chanukah with. If we leave Chanukah just with a bunch of presents and 10 extra pounds, then we've missed the boat. Yesh levar shebegilui pach Hashem tomun soy nesa Chanukah. He says, really, in the revelation of this Pach Shemen Tahar, this little jug which was Tahar, is really the essence of the entire miracle of Chanukah. Like it says in the Yisod HaAvodah, in the letter that he wrote by Parsha Zachar. He's going to talk a little bit about Purim and bring it back to Chanukah. Mordechai, with the Hey Oisius, is Begematria Heder. The word Mordechai, with the 5 letters of Mordechai, Mem Reish Daled Chaf Yud, is Begematria Heder of, Heder is like the opposite of, Heder means hidden, what's missing. Merumas Bazeh Sheklal Yisrael Haya Oz B'matzav Shel Heder, Kasher Gozar Haman Lahashmed Laharigul Abedis Kol HaYehudim. The remez is that when it came to Purim, we were not in a revealed state. We were in a matzav of heder, of darkness, of lacking, of pagam, of missing. We were not on our game because there was already a gzeira to destroy all of Klal Yisrael. But davka mitoich matzav shel heder, maschila tzmicha mechudashes. And this is a yesod that the Nesiv Shalom says many times. In order for something to be new, it has to first be almost destroyed. If you have a tree, and the tree continues to grow, it's not a new tree, it's continuing. But if something is a little bit damaged and it continues to grow, it'll always grow damaged. Very often, what we need in our lives is not to continue to grow, but to have a destruction of our old self and to have a rebirth. And in order for that to happen, our previous matzav, our previous situation, needs to be destroyed. We would say that people say by addicts they have to hit rock bottom. I don't really believe mamish in that. But the bottom line is that the person who's suffering with his addiction can only hope to one day live without an addiction when he doesn't just grow from his situation, but he has to go ahead and dig deep, deep, deep down and be reborn, rejuvenate himself. He needs a rebirth because everything is already messed up in his brain. He looks at different situations that we all go through, but he looks at it with already, where am I going to go? How am I going to get out? I feel trapped. How am I going to get my high? Where am I going to get my alcohol? Where am I going to get my fix? Addicts can't even enjoy simcha. They can't even enjoy a wedding without drinking or getting high. They can't even enjoy their children. They can't even enjoy simchas Torah. They need to get drunk. So it's not enough to take it from that mentality and grow, because part of their mentality needs to be destroyed to be reborn again in a pure way so they can live like the rest of us that don't have those thoughts. So he doesn't have to battle all the time. And that happens al derech shezorim ba'adam agarin shezer la'atzmiach tfuah. When a person has a seed, a lot of people do this scientific experiment in 4th grade, where you take a seed or you take a bean, you put it underground or you put it in a cup so you could see it, and what happens is you expect it to sprout and to grow, but that's not what happens. What happens is it starts to decompose. It cannot start to grow as long until the seed gets decomposed. But also, if it decomposes completely and it's totally dead, then it can't grow. So we see here, and this is the Yesod of Nesiv Shalom in many different places that he says, Zman hatzmicha, the time of growth, is between heder l'kiyum. It's almost dead, but it's a little bit of life. Most of what it knew, what it looked like, that bean, everything that it knew in its existence is gone, and it's almost dead, but it's not mamish dead. Because if it would be totally dead, it wouldn't be able to regrow. But if it had connection to its previous life, it wouldn't be able to grow. Kasha kemat kulei rakov, when it's until it's almost completely fafoiled, disgusted. What's the word? Decomposed. There's a better word. And the only thing that's left is the kernel of life, the kusta de chiyusa. Remember that, kusta de chiyusa. The kernel of life is remaining. Then it can start and begin to have its smicha mechudeshes, a rebirth. And that's what happened with Mordechai and Haman. The matzav in Klal Yisrael was bad. We were corrupted. We were corrupted. We got corrupted. We got mixed in with the Goyim. We went to the Suda of Achashverosh, where we don't belong. We were nishtachav eletzelem. We bowed down to the idols. We were messed up. In order for us to have a rebirth and be pure, innocent Jews, we had to go ahead and be destroyed, but not totally, because then there's nothing to grow from. 99.9% destroyed. We had to go mamish to a matzav of heder, v'nidme, and it seemed ki hakol nirkav lagamri, that we were completely destroyed, uprooted, destroyed. Ach nishara oid kusta d'chiyusa, but there was still a pulse. Umimena, from there, his schila tzmicha mechudeshes. From there, we were able to have a regrowth. Now listen to what he's saying. He's talking about an extreme, but in every level that you are, you're going to find the same thing. Throughout your life, you're going to find that it's hard to grow. It's when you're on a high and you're doing things well, you continue to grow. But when you have corruption inside you, the corruption has to die, and then you can regrow. Otherwise, you grow with corruption, which we see many people, they decide they want to start learning, but they're balei gaiva, and they learn with gaiva. And then they use their learning, I'm also a Talmud Chacham, right? Like the guy who says, not only I'm such a great Talmud Chacham, but I'm also an Anav. I'm also humble. That's not humble. So people have bad midos that don't get uprooted from being broken. They keep those bad midos with them their whole lives. And it grows along with them, and they use their goodness sometimes to beef up their bad midos. So we will learn how to apply this to our lives for people who are in very bad shape. But again, I just want to explain. Every time you grow, you have to grow one from Shar Chaf of Kedusha to Shar Chaf Aleph of Kedusha. You have the same micro story happening there. Every time you go from Lamed Shari Tumah to Chav Tesh Shari Tumah, you get out of Tumah, it's the same story. Every person is a growth and a regrowth and a rebirth and a repurity and taking away the old thinking that held him down and having a new concept and a new way of looking at life and letting go of the old things that were holding him down. It's negeh on every level to every person. Yes, we see it by people who are addicts, people who are almost dead. We see it people who are off the derech and completely lost in a very extreme way. But the same thing is happening every time we go from one level up to a higher level. So this is not just learning Torah and learning about the past. This is karate. This is teaching you how to fight your battles, how to get out of bad in the Sur Meirah, how to get away from the evil that's holding you down, how to grow. And it's also teaching you how to grow in Shari Kedusha from one level to a higher level. So too, just like we had in Purim, where the threat to us was physical because they wanted to annihilate us physically, so too Chanukah was a matzav of heder ruchni. The problem of Chanukah was they didn't want to kill us. They didn't say we're going to kill you. They said we want you to be like us. They wanted to be makar of us. They said kisvu lachem al keren hashar, write down on the keren, on the horn of the shar, on the ox, that you have no shaykhis to Hashem. Why the horn of an ox? It's a whole different thing, not for now. Bottom line is, be like us. You have a chance to be like us. If not, we're going to kill you, but shmad, be like us. Really, every single day that we go outside, we know Hatzileni no miyad achi miyad Esav. Yaakov was saying, save me from both kinds. There's a yad achi and a yad Esav. Save me from Esav, who wants to murder us physically. But also you have to save me, miyad achi, from my brother, who's trying to be makar of me with love and really just wants to change me to be like him. Both of them are very dangerous. So the story of Purim was Hatzileni no miyad Esav. Haman wanted to murder us. He didn't want us. If we would have gone to Haman and said, okay, we want to shmad, we want to be like you, not interested, like the Holocaust, like Hitler, Yamach Shemam. He didn't care if you were religious or not religious. He wanted you dead. There's no reason for a Jew to be alive, nothing to do with religion. You can become Christian. I want you dead. Chanukah was a spiritual issue. If you want to live, be like us. And that's the miyad achi. And the remez is that the Yevanim came in, v'timu kol hashmanim. They made all the shmanim, all the oil tamei. That's a remez. Why? Because they didn't want us to have holiness. So because they didn't want us to have holiness, they didn't destroy the shmanim, they didn't destroy the oil, they didn't take it away, it was very valuable. V'timu kol hashmanim. Because that was the goal of the Greeks, of the Yevanim. They wanted to be metamei us. They wanted us to become tamei in inyanei ruchniim. And they accomplished so much. They destroyed us to such a degree that our ruchnius was really, really almost gone. And all that was left was the kusta d'chiyusa. The kusta d'chiyusa, the kernel of life. Al zeh moira ha'inyin shematzu pach echad shel shemen. Dan, 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 bam, bam, bam. Came the salvation. The salvation was the kusta d'chiyusa. Menorah was destroyed. The Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. Kodesh Kadashim was destroyed. All the holiness and pureness, all the beauty, everything was destroyed. But there was kusta d'chiyusa, one little heartbeat. The pach echad shel shemen, chasam b'chaysama shel kohen gadol. Shlo yehoya bo lahadlik elu yoyim echad. That's all that was left. Was left only one little pach echad that was signed and sealed with the seal of the kohen gadol. Purity. How much purity? A drop. It could only last us one day. Shirak nekuda kechut asayra nishera b'taharasa. Only one little thing, like a hair, that was left with pureness, purity, tahar. Chasuma b'chaysama shakayin gadol. Umimena, and from there, his chila tzmicha chadasha, came a new tzmicha, a brand new, flourishing life. V'niskayma malchus Yisrael, and Malchus Yisrael came back. And that is the inyan of Chanukah and Purim. Chanukah and Purim, Chazal decided to be kaveya for us. Not every miracle did they make a holiday. But over here, Chazal said, this was the last takanas of Chazal, they said, oh my gosh, they saw there's going to be a long galus, thousands of years, and we're going to be in darkness. There are going to be times that the Goyim are going to want to murder us physically. Look at the Holocaust. They killed us, they murdered us, a third of Klal Yisrael, they destroyed us. What was left? The Sheiris HaPleita, Kusta d'Chiyusa. But look what happened, how we flourished from a Pach Echad Shemen, a Kusta d'Chiyusa, a few beating hearts that came together. Look what they did. Who could have imagined in a billion years how Klal Yisrael could be rebuilt in all ways? They saw that we're going to be in a difficult, dark exile, and they gave us a gift. They gave us a gift to celebrate Chanukah and Purim. To celebrate what? That we have to know that no matter how much we're destroyed in our klal life and in our own personal lives, as long as you have that pach echad, that little beating heart, as long as you have a pulse, kol zman shehaner doilik, which we have that kusta d'chiyusa because it's indestructible. The pilot light will never be out. And the lesson is, don't think it's over. Don't think your ruchnius is over. Don't think your life is over. Don't think nothing will become of you. Rabbi Gamliel Rabinovich told me, Rabbi Gamliel Rabinovich Shlita, one of the Gedolei Olam of our dar, he told me, Avi, when you're dealing with a bacher, you look at someone, a kid off the derech, you're looking at any Jewish child, is nicht a yachid, he's not one, is a tausende. He's 1,000. Why? He said, because his father survived the Holocaust all alone. And by his father's levaya, there was 1,000 offspring. What could one little Holocaust survivor accomplish in this world? What could one Holocaust survivor, no money, no family, nothing, tattered clothing, saw the worst that humanity ever has, traumatized, abused, all alone in the world. What could he leave the world with? if you were a betting man, everybody would bet. He would be a broken person. Maybe he would get married, maybe not. Maybe have a child, maybe not. What kind of a family can flourish from that? Atoizinte, tzmicha mechudeshes, came from that pach echad shemen shel shemen tahar, which is signed and sealed b'chaisame shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem is the one who makes sure that our kusta d'chiyusa is healthy and is pure. And Chazal saw this is coming, and they said, oy vey, people are going to give up. They're going to give up after a physical annihilation. They're going to give up after personal, spiritual annihilation. How many bachrim, boys, girls, watch things that they feel like they are the worst Rishonim in the world, or do things that they feel the biggest Rishonim in the world, they want to give up on life. Comes Chazal and says, you need to know that that's not true. Because you have a pilot light deep inside. You have a pach echad shemen inside of you that is signed and sealed b'chaisamai shel kohen gadol Hashem, that can never be destroyed. And you have to search through the rubble, and you will find it. And from that, you will not only be what you were before. No, you're going to flourish and be better than you ever dreamed that you could ever be. Shebechol pam sheyagiu lematzavim shel heder. They gave it to us so every time that we reach a situation of heder, of lacking, of darkness, yaminu, we should believe sha'akadosh baruch hu shomer aleihem. Shelo yavayu lidei heder muchlit. We have to believe in the darkness that Hashem is watching us, that we will never, ever be beheder muchlit with absolute darkness. Ubevade timtza kusta d'chiyusa shemimenu taschil shuv tzmicha, and that for sure we will find the kusta d'chiyusa, that from there we will be able to have a regrowth. And that's what Chazal say on the pasuk. Va'af gam zois b'yosim be'eretz oiveihem. And even then, when you will be found where? In the clubs. You'll be found on your phones Friday night, Machal Shabbos. You're going to be be'eretz oiveihem, trapped in the land of your enemies, be'gashmius and barachnius. You should know loy ma'astim. Loy ma'astim, Hashem is not famiused from you. He's not disgusted from you. It's not game over. Loy ma'astim b'mei kazdim she'amadati lahem esteniya chanina mishal varzaria. V'loy ga'altam b'mei yivanim she'amadati lahem Hashem menatzadik b'chashmino yivanim u'matisyo kain gadol. You should know that Hashem always is going to send a salvation for you. L'chaloisam b'mei Haman she'amadati lahem es Mordechai ve'Esther. L'hafer b'yisi itam b'mei Parsiyim she'amadati lahem shel Beis Rebbe v'chachmei adoros. That's the Gemara Megillah brings out for each word how Hashem is saying, I will always find a way throughout all of your darkness to save you. Ki ani Hashem aleikehem. La'asad lavai she'en kol umma v'lashen yichaylu lishloit bahem. I am Hashem, your God, is going for eternity throughout the length of the Gullus, that it's not possible for any umma v'lashen, any nation and language, any sprach, any language, anything that happens is never going to be able to fully conquer you and subjugate you. B'chol hadayris halolu shenimnu kan higiu Yisrael amatzav shel heder, and all of those generations that Chazal are talking about to tell us how Hashem saved us, we were in a matzav, a situation of darkness, of lacking. That Kadosh Baruch Hu Barachamav, and Hashem in His Rachmanas, He hishir b'chol dar kusta d'chiyusa. He let that kusta d'chiyusa, that kernel of life, remain. B'mei kazdim, in those days He had the Nilchanani Mishal V'Azariu v'chol dar as shar chachmei adaris she'im hayu pach echad shel shemen shemimenu nivna klal Yisrael mechadash. They were that kernel, that pach echad shemen, that jug, small little jug of Shemen Tahar, that from them they rebuilt Klal Yisrael Mechodesh from new. Now listen to these words. And so too, B'meshech alpayim shnois hagolus, ho'arucha. through 2,000 years of dark galus. There were many times in the matzav of Klal Yisrael that we were at the end, at the brink. We looked like it's lights out. But then came a revelation of a kusta de chiyusa, of a kernel of life out of nowhere. The bechina, the concept of the pach shemen. Shemisham hischila tzmicha ubinyan mechudesh. From there came the brand new tzmicha mechudeshes. And the truth is, if we were learning this 80, 90, 100 years ago, we would say, really, really? But we really just saw this in a Holocaust. We really just see this black and white, what happened to us. Uveyichud ve'inu zois b'dayreinu, says the Nesiv Shalom, just what I just said, and especially in our dar, what did we see? B'tkufas ha'churban ha'gadol v'ha'noira. When we went through the tremendous Holocaust, the destruction, ha'gadol, the great destruction, awesome destruction. Shahayid nidma, because it seemed, ki Klal Yisrael oimed li'smoitet chas v'shalom. Klal Yisrael seemed to be totally devastated, destroyed. It seemed like Torah would be forgotten from Klal Yisrael. Do you know how many Go'inim were murdered? How many tzaddikim that were not even the Gedolei Hadar, brilliant minds that if any of them would be born today, they would be Agadol Hadar. Hundreds, thousands, Go'inim, tzaddikim. But what did remain, even after such horrific destruction, was the kernel of life. Shemimenu haschila pricha chadasha. From there came a rejuvenation of a new Yiddishkeit.